Hello and welcome to the Pick and Pop podcast, where I'm joined by a special guest, the supervisor, the mentor for this senior project, Mr. Craig Boscow, an overall sports savant.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll start with, you recently become a big Indiana sports fan. Indian basketball is really peaking right now.
Yep.
So can you talk a bit about that and how you're from the Bay Area, obviously, but how you became a fan of Indiana basketball?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Caleb.
Of course.
And happy to be on Pick and Pop with, one of my sports heroes. Your knowledge is just amazing. And I've been spending a lot of time in the Hoosier State in the last couple of years. It started because I work at Salesforce, and our second biggest office in the United States is in Indiana. A lot of my team's in Indiana. So I started going, and then our older child, Jonah, decided that he was going to become a Hoosier, and he's at IU. He just finished his second year. So, I'm there 4 or 5 times, and I got to tell you, between the Fever and the Pacers, it's a golden era of Indiana basketball. The only thing that's lagging behind are the Hoosiers themselves. But with Woodson's resignation or firing, I think it was a resignation, maybe a firing masked as a resignation, because they have been underperforming. I mean, they had TJD just doing layups and dunks, not much else. I don't think 5-footers were going in and free throws were going in, but TJD did get a lot of good dunks. And now his brother, I think, is maybe the backup quarterback for the Hoosier football team. Could be wrong about that. Yeah. I think TJD's brother started a couple games last year, but now I think we got the Cal transfer heading there, but we're not going to talk about Hoosier football. Let's stick with Indiana basketball. I was there this past weekend, and between the Indianapolis 500, which was yesterday, the Fever Liberty game, which was another New York, Indiana, what are they calling that? The Knicks versus the Hicks, something like that. Okay,
that makes sense.
Knicks versus the Hicks. We had just an absolutely electric environment at Cambridge for the noon, 1:00 actually, nationally televised game. And then you got just Pacer Fever running. I just think we're here. You can get 8 solid months of basketball now in the Hoosier State, starting from about October and taking you all the way through August. 10 months. I mean, you got 10 months. We got the WNBA All-Star Game is there coming up. Coming up. And I think the NBA All-Star Game might have been this year. It was here. It was in San Francisco. But maybe the year before it was India. I don't know. It's just a basketball.
It wasn't Indiana.
It's a basketball heaven right now, Caves. So you are welcome to come pay pilgrimage next year, in
2024.
So maybe take a break, from Houston, and you just hop on a little Southwest flight, and I pick you up at the airport, and then we just go see some Fever basketball, or maybe this summer. I'm looking to go back for Jonah's in a show, but I'm marking my calendar, and I think you should be marking yours for Saturday, June 14th, when the Liberty come back to play the Fever in one of 4 matchups this year, because I'll tell you, it was playoff energy. Playoff energy this Saturday, national TV. I think I saw that 2.7 million viewers watched one of the first games of the WNBA season, breaking all sorts of records. I can't wait to see what the, maybe you even pull it up, what the viewership was for Saturday's Fever Liberty game. I wouldn't be surprised if it surpassed 3 million. So, Indiana basketball, it's just great. You don't have the superstars that you have around the league in terms of the Knicks have Brunson and Cat, and Ant is on the T-Wolves. You just look at who's left in the playoffs right now. Shea on OKC, Ant, and then the star power, not just of the Knicks, but of their fans. They pan the game.
Big market.
You're not going to get that when you're at Cambridge. But what you get instead is just this incredibly balanced team and a pretty knowledgeable fan base and a state with great basketball tradition, layered with the hottest player in the WNBA, even if she's not the best, in Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and the supporting cast. Great time to be an Indiana basketball fan. It's time to jump on the bandwagon.
You said you went to the Fever versus Liberty game on Saturday. I think the Liberty won in a close game, right?
Liberty won by 2.
I think come back, and they were looking at it. They had like 9 points in the fourth quarter. So can you talk about that game, the vibe being there, the experience being there?
First of all, I'll be the first to acknowledge that I was very fortunate to have courtside seats courtesy of Salesforce. And, Salesforce sort of all over their sponsorship of the Fever, and never been a better time. But so very, very blessed to sit there. And I don't know that I would trade that for, let's say, Warrior seats or Pacer seats, because there's just a rabid fan base. So Gainbridge is sold out Saturday, 1 o'clock, absolutely packed. Tons of young girls wearing Caitlin Clark jerseys, and grown men and women as well. So just really exciting to see women's basketball just shine. The Valkyries are here, and I think that's going to be amazing. But so we got a sold out crowd. We got there's this new player, I forgot what her name is, but she's a longtime WNBA vet that's joined the Fever this year. So they made a couple of pickups. They brought back Aaliyah Boston, who I think was the number one pick in the WNBA draft the year before Caitlin. So back to back. And her and Caitlin Clark have a really good kind of John Stockton, Karl Malone. A lot of pick and rolls, and just Clark really knows how to take the attention that's given on her, give the ball to Boston inside, and you can just see, and I saw it last year, the chemistry developing between these two stars. So that was great. So the game starts out, and I mean, you're looking at just an absolute star-studded cast on the Liberty. You got Jones, and I forgot
did they win it all last year?
Yeah, they won it all. So you got the defending WNBA champs, and I forgot what her name is, Jacques Jones or something like that.
Jonquel Jones.
Jonquel Jones.
I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing
I think it's and Jonquel Jones is just huge. She's 6'5".
Yeah.
And as she showed in the fourth quarter, a deft touch from the 3-point line. I mean, she really was knocking down triples.
Yeah.
But then
in the fourth quarter, you got 4 for 5.
4 for 5. I mean,
2 from 3.
She was unstoppable.
4 from the free throw line, 14 points.
We're watching her. We're watching Brianna Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay, Stewie, who is just, a dominant top 5 player.
All time. WNBA great.
I mean, she's just fantastic. And so, she is finding her way under the basket for some easy shots. She's punishing on the defensive end. And then let's not forget Sabrina Ionescu.
Yeah.
Who, most famously, I think recently did the 3-point contest with Steph before the All-Star game. Yeah. Was that 2 years ago? And I think that was in Indianapolis when she did the 2024. But Sabrina Ionescu, is not what I would call a finesse player. Her husband was actually sitting big guy. Like he could sort of pick me up and squeeze me with his bare hands kind of guy. But, Sabrina Ionescu. So the Fever come out. The first quarter is more or less kind of balanced. I think Fever are down by 2 maybe at the end of 1, if memory serves correctly. And then the Liberty just open up.
After one, the Fever down by 1 point.
1 point.
30-29.
And then I would say there was like a 15-point lead at some point, the largest lead of the game for the Liberty in the second quarter. And they were just showing their experience. And Caitlin Clark had a mixed game. At that point, she had like 10 turnovers in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that quad was bothering her that she's now going to be out for 2 weeks, but she looked at times, she looked okay for the most part, a little gimpy at times. But then here comes the third quarter, and I don't know what the new coach, what is her name? Stephanie Wade, maybe? She came from Connecticut.
The coach of the Fever, Stephanie White. Yeah, I don't know what she said to the ladies over halftime, but they came out a different team, inspired defensively, and then Clark just knocking down threes. And I'm sitting next to, more or less, not exactly, but from her boyfriend, who's the assistant coach on Butler, and Tyrese Halliburton, and a couple other hangers on. With Tyrese Halliburton sitting with the boyfriend?
Right, he sits right next. The other game I went to is Tyrese seems to come to most of the home games, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And he's not just on his phone. I mean, he is into it.
And like a passionate guy.
And Caitlin Clark is sort of like talking sometimes to, you can just see her making eye contact with her boyfriend. She didn't she was getting a lot of fouls. And then Stephanie White caused a lot of controversy after the game.
Do you feel like Caitlin Clark complains too much about...
I'm not going to go on and say that Caitlin is complaining too much. What I would say is this. Like Steph, she's going to draw a lot of attention. She's going to have to play through it. Is it going to be the same treatment that other players get? Maybe, maybe not. But listen, they go on a run, and it's capped off by a step back triple at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
And, Caitlin Clark's going nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. And the crowd's going nuts. She also had a and 1 from 3-point land.
Yeah.
She had a 4-point play in the third. So you kind of feel like they're about to run away with the game. I think they're up by 12 at some point. They've flipped this 15-point lead. Don't quote me exactly, but I think it might be plus 27 between the 15-point deficit to the 12-point lead.
They outscored them by 17 in the third quarter.
In the third quarter, but at some point in the second quarter, I'm telling you, they were down by like 15. So the overall swing between that deficit was at least 25 points.
Yeah.
And then a little bit like we've seen in the NBA playoffs between the Knicks in games 1 and 2, and then the Pacers last night, they kind of took the foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Questionable shot selection.
You got to play a 40-minute game or in WNBA, a 40-minute
40-minute. Questionable shot selection in the fourth period. Yeah. Sabrina Ionescu became a force to be recognized. Jonquel Jones.
Yeah.
And I felt like the Pacers lost their composure a little bit. And
The Fever?
The Fever lost their composure a little bit. Comes down to about 3 seconds left, and Caitlin Clark gets the ball. And instead of really going up for a shot, I think she went for the foul. And, she felt like she got fouled at the end. I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that was being called a foul. They got the one addition to the Liberty season to the team, because they more or less brought back their championship team. But they brought back, what is the woman who was guarding Caitlin Clark at the end? She has a last name that sort of a good last name. Trying to figure out who was the...
They brought in Natasha Cloud.
Yeah. She enveloped like a cloud. She enveloped Caitlin Clark. She's just kind of like, I would say, I don't know what she is, maybe 6'1", 6 feet, 5'11", something like that. But she's kind of ripped. She's tatted up.
Yeah.
And she was just all over Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark, rather than, I don't know, I felt like they should have set a screen or something. But she goes up and kind of plays, matador basketball there, and the game is over. But if anyone listening to this podcast has a chance to go to Indianapolis and see a Fever game, you will not be disappointed. It is a great investment of your time and money. So that's what I have to say about the Fever in Indiana basketball. Should we pivot to?
I can touch on some other things. You said that in that third quarter, Caitlin Clark 3 of 6, 2 of 4 from 3.
Yeah.
Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell both went 3 of 3. Yeah. That was pretty big.
I'm really curious about what the Kelsey Mitchell Caitlin Clark dynamic is, because Kelsey Mitchell's been in the league for
a while,
a few years,
7 years, maybe.
7 years, and when she started to spark that rally, okay, she was kind of keeping them in the game, and I saw her in a different game against, I think it might have been the Minnesota Lynx last year with Nafisa Collier, I think is her name, the superstar, top 3 or 4 player in the WNBA. But it's Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell is a spark plug.
Yeah,
and
consistent, 18.
Yeah, and she can create her own shot. I feel like a little bit more than Caitlin Clan at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Caitlin Clark's just phenomenal. Yeah. A phenomenal talent and a great ambassador for the league. But I do wonder if they wouldn't have been better off looking for Kelsey Mitchell there at the end of the game.
But then, while kind of that top trio for the Fevers are good in the third quarter, and sort of that, like you said, that big 30-13. That's how much they outscored the Liberty by.
Yeah.
But then in the fourth quarter, that trio went 2 for 17.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Fever were subject to the defense of the Liberty, and I felt like their experience, their championship DNA came in, and you had Stewie clogging up the middle. You got Jonquel Jones, who is going to clog up the middle. I mean, she is really. Yeah, what is she? She's 6'5".
I think so.
She's probably, she's also just sturdy, big. And Sabrina, I mean, these are just vets.
Yeah.
These are just vets. But I think it'll be really interesting as the season goes on. There's 13 teams, I think, in the WNBA.
13 now.
13 teams. So they play each other like 4 times a year. I know there's 4 games between the Fever and the Liberty.
I think like 40
games. So I know there's 4 games alone, though, between the Liberty and the Fever. And those are kind of must-see TV, in my view, because the Fever have a legit shot if they can learn. I mean, they would be 4-0. I think they lost a game by just a couple of points, maybe to Atlanta. I forgot who they lost to, and then they just lost this. They were in that game. So I just think the WNBA is going to be super fun. And, just when we finish what feels like 8 months of NBA playoffs, we're going to be able to go straight into the heart of the WNBA season without missing a beat. And then we're going to hit football, both college and pro.
MLB, too.
World Series coming up in September, October. So they got this sports calendar pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
I need to throw in a little bit of horse racing.
I don't know if I do horse racing.
I think it's going to be time for us next year, this time, to be talking about the Derby.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a guy at the Indy 500 that wanted to finish the Indy 500 and then go race in Charlotte last night. Uh-huh. He was going to do 2 races in one day, but then he got into a crash.
Yeah.
So he couldn't do it. But, there's a lot of sports out there, a lot of good sports these days. Also, not for today, cricket. Okay. We need to definitely, dial up some cricket talk right now.
You're like really the sports savant. Any sport.
All right.
But just a couple more things about the Fever before we go to Pacers versus Knicks.
Yeah.
You were mentioning the Stockton Malone-esque combination between Clark and Boston.
Yeah.
And I think you maybe touched on what you saw like being there. I wasn't able to watch his game, but Clark in the Aaliyah Boston in the first quarter, 5 of 5 from the field.
Yeah.
And Clark 6 assists.
Right. I mean,
so was that connection just very prevalent?
That's what kind of kept them in that first quarter because Clark was sloppy with the ball. I think she might have finished with 10 turnovers.
Yeah, and 4 of them were in the first quarter.
Yeah, so she was sloppy with the ball, but when she did manage to settle down and make passes, she was finding a wide open Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah.
And I love Aaliyah Boston's game. She plays really hard in the paint. How many rebounds did Aaliyah Boston have in that game? I wouldn't be surprised if she was in double digit.
In that game had 13 rebounds and 6 offensive rebounds.
Yeah. She was playing against some, like I said, it's not easy to rebound with Stewie and Jones in the paint. So she's really impressive player. Mm-hmm. And yes, they do have a great connection. It's not sort of your exact classic pick and roll. Like you would watch those games with Stockton and Malone and you would know what play they were running.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, here it comes. Wait for it. And then it seems like it was just unstoppable. It's a little bit like watching Jalen Brunson. When he gets in the lane, he's going to back down, and he's going to step back, and he can shoot over either shoulder, which I think is really what makes Brunson such a special player. Yeah. But it's coming, and it still seems unstoppable. So it's not quite dialed in like that, but it had an aspect to it that reminded me of that.
I think Clark's a player that, she's still young. She'll develop more.
Yeah.
Become less sloppy.
Where do you think she is? I was asking my colleague who joined me at the game, where Caitlin Clark is in terms of rankings right now. Is she a top 10 player? Is she a top 20 player?
I don't know the ranking. I think it's fair to say that she's always been one of the best passers in the sport. And I don't know overall, my WNBA knowledge can definitely improve, but definitely one of the top passers. I think averages 9 assists a game. I think you worry a bit, she can have those on offense, those spectacular moments.
Yes.
There's those crazy deep logo shots.
Right.
But you the consistency maybe isn't there. I think overall she's only 31% from 3.
She's on a rough start for the year, right?
Rough start from 3. I think the overall just you get it up. I think she has the talent to be the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But just the question is, does she have the consistency and the experience to get there? I think in a few years. I don't think she's there yet. I think he's probably definitely better than her right now.
Yeah.
I think she has a good chance of getting there.
Yeah, well, she also bulked up a lot over the summer. That was a big storyline.
Yeah.
And I think that, Steph is going to be... I mean, I watched Steph now in, the last 3 years since he went on this regimen. And it's really impressive.
Yeah.
His defense is, I think, improved.
Yeah. Well, I think sort of peaked. I think now it's maybe...
Yeah.
Because I think now he's lost too much athleticism.
Sure. But it's not for lack of hitting the gym, is all I'm saying. It's not for lack of hitting the gym. What do you make of the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese kerfuffle? Have you paid any attention to this controversy?
I have. It's all over social media.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to comment on it.
Sure.
It seems like...
It could be manufactured, could not be. I didn't see the play. So in fairness, I didn't see the play.
I saw the play. It seemed like kind of like a shove.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would need to watch it again.
Is it like the Macron shove? So I don't know if you've seen the news today, but there's there's some news out of wherever Emmanuel Macron.
With the wife?
Yeah, the wife apparently shoves him getting off a plane. His wife shoves him, and he says, it's no big deal. I don't know how you say that in French. We'd have to probably ask your brother. But he says it's no big deal. But, his wife is seen in this video on X shoving him as he gets off a plane.
Yeah.
He says it's a playful love tap.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. So, is it, I don't know if you see what's going on here, but, we got Angel. Is it more of a Macron thing, or is it a Draymond, shove? I don't know. I haven't seen enough about it, but let's just say that there's a lot of good storylines.
Yeah.
In the WNBA.
Even if some of the discourse come out that may not be the
right.
most healthy discourse.
Yeah.
WNBA is definitely being talked about as much as that's ever been talked about. So
I think that's
good
fair.
things out of that.
I think that's fair.
It's up to you.
Right.
But yeah, Caitlin Clark definitely boosting the viewership and the popularity of that league. Let's get now to the NBA, the Eastern Conference Finals, where currently the 4-seed Indiana Pacers are up 2-1 on the 3-seed New York Knicks. Yesterday had a chance to go up 3-0 close to the series.
Sure looked like it was going to happen.
Couldn't do it, but you say game 3 you weren't able to watch as much, but from what I saw, I was mainly just Karl Anthony Towns taking over 20 points in the fourth quarter. That was really it. They said no, they should shot from 3, drove inside. They really just had no answer for a combination of physicality, handle, speed for his size, 3-point shooting. I think Cat's a guy that people in the past playoffs have been frustrated with him. He's not consistent. He doesn't show up in the playoffs. He doesn't punish maybe smaller defenders. He doesn't take advantage of his size and athleticism. I think in game 3, he really did that. Really just taking it right mouth turn the entire time. For the Pacers, I think they had Turner 0 for 4 from 3. This we're not making the 3-point shots in the. I think obviously the 3-point shooting, they've had some pretty crazy shooting stretches this playoffs. In the fourth quarter, that didn't happen. But let's touch on the maybe more fun game for Indiana fans. Indiana still, while this was a big win for the Knicks, Indiana, I'd say, is still in command of the series, especially if they're able to win this next game 4.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Game 3. Can we talk about Game 3 for a little bit? I did. I didn't watch the whole of it, but I sort of watched it on tape delay, and I didn't know what happened, so I fast forward, and in the first half, it looked, and even into the third quarter, kind of looked like all Pacers.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Brunson has 4 fouls going into halftime, right?
Yeah.
Cat has 3.
Yeah.
And the crowd's rocking.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to halftime. I watched a little of TNT's coverage at halftime, and Sir Charles, of course, is saying this game is over.
Yeah.
By the way, he is wrong a lot. I'm sure that maybe is by design, but he just definitively says the game is over. Guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
And Shaq's laughing, and I did, by the way, love Draymond on the TNT. He has such a great career.
He has
such a great future.
I haven't seen the clips of him.
Such a great future in broadcasting. Yeah. But you go into the third, and Tyrese is just going off. There's that sequence. Did you see that sequence where he steals the ball from Brunson, I think, and then he goes in and does a dunk, and then he makes a 3, and then he makes another 3, and it's timeout, and I don't know what the lead was.
Yeah, I think it was
15?
It went from 43-35 to 55-35. So the Pacers was getting on transition every time.
Yeah.
Halliburton was doing
20-point lead. 20-point lead, right?
There's a 20-point lead.
And you just kind of think the Knicks are dead, and you wonder, when the public flogging of Tom Thibodeau is going to start happening in the New York Town Square. Barkley says at halftime, Thibodeau won't even play 9 in a baseball game. Right? Because he, and you think they're dead. And in game 2, Cat's on the bench for most of the crunch time, right?
Yeah.
That's what happens. And now Brunson gets pulled out with his 5th foul.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cat just goes off.
Yeah, I think Brunson was out from,
I don't know, what, the 10-minute mark to about the 2-minute mark?
Yeah, he was out for a while.
He was out for a while, and you just are wondering, what is Tommy Thibodeau doing? What's Tommy T, the troll?
Yeah.
What's he doing, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Not the greatest looking guy. Okay, not that it matters, but Tommy T, right?
Let's not body shame on this.
Well, I don't want to body shame, but, he's a savant.
Yeah.
He's turned out to be a savant, That's a fair point. Okay, as your advisor, should not be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So Tommy T is, just kind of making his decision, and people are gonna, I think, eat him alive if they lose.
Yeah.
And then here comes Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know what you think. I know, he takes his fair share of criticism, but I feel like since the playoffs have started, he has been
good.
He's been really good. Maybe the best I have seen Karl Anthony Towns play in his career.
He's more aggressive too.
Yeah. What do you think? I think this is the best stretch of play at crunch time that I've seen in his career.
Even in the Boston series, when his 3-point shot wasn't falling that much, he was more aggressive. He was backing people down. Like,
yes.
Passing in the playoffs, teams just stick like a wing on him or a big forward and just say like, oh, post us up, or hey, try to take advantage of us on the inside. And he hasn't done that. Like, he struggled to score efficiently in the postseason. Or when the 3-point shot abandons him, he just has no impact. But in this game, he was like taking people off the dribble. He was posting up. He was getting offensive rebounds. He was hitting threes too. In this
and
game.
I might add, getting a lot of key rebounds.
Yeah. So he was very good. And I say for the Knicks, if I said it before, but if the Knicks really want to be true contenders, they've given a lot of resources for sort of like I call them sort of like the support three. I think Brenson's the main guy, but for OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Cat, like those guys, I think can be inconsistent, but those guys are going to need to step up. And I think for the most part they have. I think Bridges' offense can be inconsistent, but I think Bridges and Anunoby on defense, I think having that wing duo is huge for them. They get lost steals. I think really.
How would you assess the performance of everyone besides Jalen Brunson and Cat in this series so far? Are they pulling their weight?
I think OG. Yeah, I feel like it's him and Bridges on defense. Their size, OG's his size, his hands, his offense is up and down. But I think his offensive that's going to be good this year. I think especially in game. When he has that 3-point shot going, like in game 3, 4 for 6 from 3.
Yeah.
So he's been good.
I don't feel Bridges feels like he's been absent offensively. Am I missing it? Maybe I just haven't seen the parts where he's been scoring.
I think he kind of has been
MIA
absent offensively. I think the offense is something that is in game 2, 9 of 18. That's decent, but I think there's definitely a lack of a handle, lack of real girth right there.
You're saying he needs to bulk up.
He needs to bulk up a little bit. But I think on defense's length.
You think who's he guarding primarily in this series?
I'm forgetting now.
Okay, and
I think Halliburton some. I think in the fourth quarter he did some pretty good kind of rear view contests on Halliburton, kind of fighting over screens. I think helped limit him. I think there's one stretch in game 2 and game 1 in the second quarter. We had like these mid times after like TJ McConnell tried to go at him. He completely swat the shot away. Overall, I think he uses his length really well. I think his defense.
While you mention him, how is TJ McConnell managed to be such an impact player? I mean, you look at the guy and you think he's playing at the YMCA.
Yeah.
Right? You think this guy is already at the Y, that he's not a professional player.
He's just fine to kind of find little spots.
He just
rise up
parks himself in the center of that zone.
Mid-range shots, just like find the soft spots in the defense. Hustles well. Just if he's a veteran, he's been in the league for a while, so knows how to kind of knows his way around.
He's so impactful.
Yeah, he is.
And I think in game 4, my prediction, first of all, Neesmith is day to day with the ankle.
Oh yeah,
and I think that would be a big loss for the Pacers.
His defense is good. I think Brunson's kind of had his way with him.
Yeah,
but
Brunson's kind of had his way with everybody.
Yeah,
I don't know that anyone stopped Jalen Brunson in these playoffs.
Yeah.
Is anyone, in your view, who do you think is doing the best job? And we're now
maybe
in round,
the Celtics did the best job.
we're now in round 3, and I don't know that anyone's really stopped the guy.
Yeah. Because Brunson's game, that's hard to limit him, but even for defense, his craft, his ability to use his body, his ability to hit tough shots, just makes him a guy that's like, it's sort of like the saying, like, great offense beats great defense.
Yeah. No, he's just been a superstar.
Yeah.
So what do you think we're going to see in Game 4?
What do I think we're going to see in Game 4?
Yeah.
I think a lot of their success has been predicated on their 3-point shooting. And like, it's in this team that is very, very, it's like a volatile team where they could be, if they're hitting the threes, they're good. And man, I'm not good prediction. So what would you say?
Well, I think the Pacers are going to take Game 4. I mean, first of all, part of me actually hopes the Knicks do, even though I'm rooting for the Pacers in this series.
Yeah.
I really think a Pacers OKC, I think we're looking at a Pacers OKC final.
Yeah.
I know that, we're not probably going to talk too much about the T-Wolves. I know they routed the Thunder.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see that tonight in a couple hours here in Game 4.
Thunder's still a better team.
Thunder's a better team.
Yeah.
They're just deeper. And unless they just lay a complete egg and they figured out how to guard Shea, which I don't think they have, and Holmgren and what's the other?
Jalen Williams.
And
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hartenstein feels like he just emerged from an Oktoberfest festival with a Stein in his hand, and he's knocked down a couple beers, but he's just hard to stop with that very inelegant little push shot that he seems to have. But their defense is solid. I just would be shocked if we're going to see the blowout we saw. I think we're going to see a tight game in Minneapolis tonight. And I for one, I'm going to go on record and say that I think Game 4 is going to be won by the OKC Thunder, and I think Game 4 is going to be won by your Indiana Pacers.
This makes me say, I feel like the Knicks are the better team.
You do? Interesting.
Yeah. And like the Pacers, in order to win game, well, I think the key for the Pacers is Pascal Siakam.
Right.
Like, and like if Siakam can be better than Karl-Anthony Towns, the Pacers, I think, are the better team. I think Halliburton versus Brunson, I might prefer Brunson by
100%.
I might prefer Brunson
100%. No one's doubting his genius.
Obviously, the Pacers, their bench is definitely better.
Right.
More depth.
And you also, what's the main guy that's going to be the free agent this year that's everyone's going to want? He's 29. He's the other Miles Turner. Miles Turner. I think when Miles Turner's hitting from 3, that's a bad sign for the Knicks.
Yeah. I think that, like, it took me feeling 8 from 9 from 3. The Pacers to eke by that game 1. I think with the way Cat is playing right now, and if they can sort of get a Cat and Brunson together to both play the stars they are, the Knicks should win the game. And I think like in game 2, and he was able to win largely because Siakam sort of outplayed Cat. Siakam was a guy that I think it feels like he sort of forgotten at times.
Yeah,
like this guy that's supposed to. I think in plus he's been good, but he's supposed to be the like big second star.
Yeah.
And sometimes feels like he can be overshadowed by Nembhard or Turner or
Well, let me offer a counter.
Yeah.
Okay, to this argument that the Knicks are the better team. And it's a legit point. But the counter is, I kind of feel, as I've watched a lot of Knicks basketball, just to your point, both Brunson and Cat generally have to play really well.
Yeah.
Okay? You're going to need a very strong performance out of both of them.
Yeah.
If they're not playing well, I don't see who's stepping up right now on the... Okay, Deuce McBride, right?
Yeah.
Hit a lot of key shots last night, I guess. I didn't watch the comeback, but Deuce McBride had an impact on the game. I just feel like the Pacers are more diversified.
Yeah.
If they were a portfolio, they're a more diversified team.
Yeah.
And they're also younger, and they play faster.
Yeah.
And so you feel like Neesmith could go off. You feel like he's the one that went off in game one was Neesmith, right?
Neesmith
But who's the other guard? Nemhard can have a good game. TJ McConnell is pesky.
Yeah.
Miles Turner can start knocking down threes and get hot. I feel like they have a bunch of people that they're not totally reliant on Halliburton and Siakam. They do need strong performances.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Knicks, if Cap doesn't go off last night, they lose by 20.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the Pacers just have that certain je ne sais quoi this year, where there's some sort of non-statistical element that's just bringing them. It may not be in the predictive model, but whatever that chemistry is just. I was at the game when they came back against the Bucks and closed them out. They were down by 8 with like 33 seconds left.
Yeah.
So, between that and the Knicks win, they're looking good.
I think overall, in terms of the top two guys, like Towns and
advantage
Knicks. So the question is, it's sort of Turner, Neesmith, Nemhard.
It's a combo.
Versus in terms of
starters.
There's 3 through 5 starters.
Sure.
Turner, Neesmith, Nemhard versus
Josh Hart,
Maccabi, Ojanobi, and Bridges. Like they gave up 5% picks for this guy. If he's being outplayed by Andrew Nemhard or by Neesmith,
it's a problem.
They're going to need him to play well if they.
He's going to play well defensively, and then that one game where he lit up in the fourth quarter offensively. I forgot which game against the Celtics, but he started to make a lot of threes. I feel like, right? I just think we're seeing also the emergence of Andrew Nemhard in these playoffs as he's Canadian. He's been sort of under the radar, I feel like. But I think we're seeing a much more calm, composed Andrew Nemhard.
Yeah.
And Tyrese makes great decisions generally with the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a true point guard, right?
Basically feel like they play better as a team.
Exactly.
The Knicks are very reliant on Brunson ISOs, Cat ISOs.
And Thibodeau's decision who he's going to play.
Yeah.
I mean, he mixes up the lineup yesterday. That didn't go well in the first half. I also feel like all the pressure is on the Knicks. I feel like the Pacers are playing with house money.
I think that's the pressure might be a bit in Pacers more now because Halliburton did the whole choke sign.
Sure.
How good
was that?
It would have been slightly better if it actually was a 3-point shot.
Fair enough, but nonetheless,
they still were able to close out in overtime. But it would have been funny if he was like,
had they lost? Of course, but
he delivered.
Yeah. I mean, that shot. Where does that shot rank in terms of? I don't know. I think it's up there. You got the play with Cal Stanford. I don't
know if I got it. It was good, but
that the immaculate reception with Doug Flutie.
My reception was
who was that?
That was the Steelers.
Okay, the Steelers. Franco. Who was that? Franco Harris. Okay, what was the Doug Flutie thing called? It was like
the Hail Mary
Boston College, right?
College, yeah.
Okay, the ball seemed when I was watching it like it hung up there.
Yeah,
like it hung up there. It felt suspended in time.
Pacers devil magic. It seems like
Pacers devil. That's
wait. Sorry, can we?
Yes.
Storage is full.
Okay, but we're still on here, so yeah.
Sorry,
That's okay. Do you want to stop the recording here or not? No, you want to keep it running?
Maybe. You mind if I stopped in?
No.
Well, that's the podcast. Apologies for the sudden abrupt ending, but I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for tuning in.